70, 2-length push on the bump, 80.
Welcome to Special State and welcome to the penultimate round of the Fiesta ST Trophy. And this year it has been the story of a number of drivers, but for the final two rounds it's really the story of two. Cameron Davies has got his eyes set on that title, so is the man behind me. As you can see, the cars have already been doing battle in the forest, in the very wet forests here at the Woodpecker Rally. Let's have a look at how they got on this morning. On to the stages then, and it will be the early lead for George Lepley and Arwell Jenkins. Fresh from exams and able to concentrate on the rallying fully. They lead the way by 14 seconds at the end of stage 4. George, you've been consistently picking up the pace this year. It's been a real learning year for you, but it doesn't get much more educational than the Woodpecker in the wet.
No, it's been tricky this morning. It's good that we're leading now. Got a 14-second lead over Cameron. Obviously, this year is all about doing the miles and just keep on going through, getting to the end. We've had not the luck on our side all the way.
That said, though, have you had perhaps more fighting chances than you were perhaps anticipating coming into this year, with it being your learning year?
Well, yeah, you know, we just tried to obviously go as fast as we can, just build the pace up, get to the end, do the miles, and slowly increase the pace, which we are, and hence showing the results today.
For Cameron Davies and Lee Taylor, it would be a calculated drive as the pair needed to get to the finish this weekend to claim the title. Things were going well so far with second. Could Cameron keep it up in the next few stages? Harder, of course, to keep to a calculated pace than just go flat out. Cameron, this is your title drive. You've got 2 rounds to make it count.
Yeah, no, just taking it really easy. I mean, we've got to have a methodical approach this weekend. We've got to finish in the top 6 in the Fiestas to wrap up the championship. So it's really hard. We're having to keep, concentration, but at the same time back off enough to, get good stage times.
After a good run this season, the championship looked to be slipping away from Sam Billum and Graham Wild now. This weekend would be the decider. So for now, all they could do was drive their own rally and see what happened. 3rd place for now. Sam, what's your plan for today? Keep it steady, get that pace wound up?
Yeah, well, the plan was to try and have a bit of a push, but just not very confident in the conditions of the road, really. It's just sort of can't decide where to brake, a bit slippy, but it's the same for everyone. So we'll just see how we get on this afternoon. Little bit of a moment in stage 3, ended up the banking, but didn't lose too much time, thankfully.
Just outside the podium places were Matthew Davies and Mark Crisp, the pair leading the way over the second half of the entry, but with almost 2 minutes to Billum up ahead. Things will be a little closer for them though, as they only had a 12-second lead over John Ambler and Doug Chivers. Times were close after 4 stages of competition so far, showing just how close the Fiesta Trophy has been this season. And for Tom Eason and Ian Bevan, it will be a little further back. 38 seconds to be exact. They lie in 6th place now, and looking like this is where they might finish. And new to the championship, and indeed driving for the first time, but a face that nobody would need an introduction to. It's Jack Benyon from Motorsport News, Paul Hudson alongside. They round out the Fiesta Cruise after being thrown in at the deep end in these tricky conditions. So at the end of this loop of stages, it's Lepley who leads over Davies, but the championship battle still had 2 more stages to go, and as we've seen so far this season, anything could happen. On to the second half of the day, and no change for Jack Benyon and Paul Hudson. They make it through the conditions to secure Jack's first rally finish as a driver. And indeed, things would stay much the same through the afternoon stages, as Tom Eason and Ian Bevan continue to lie in 6th place to the finish. For John Ambler and Doug Chivers, it will be 5th. They lose a few seconds in the battle for that position ahead over the afternoon stages, but still remain within 35 seconds by the finish. So that means that Matthew Davies and Mark Crisp are able to hold on to that 4th place. They were too far back to reach the podium this weekend, but that result was still a good one. For Sam Billum and Graham Wild, it would be 3rd, missing out on the championship with this result, but it had been a good battle all season long. But that means that for Cameron Davies and Lee Taylor, it would be the championship victory. 2nd place this weekend was enough to secure the title for the pair, with 1 round still remaining in Yorkshire. But for this weekend at least, it would be glory and that victory finally for George Lepley and Arwell Jenkins. Showing pace and promise so far, it was inevitable. The pace had improved and they were looking set to be a challenger for the championship next season. So at the end of the Woodpecker, here's confirmation of the final results in the Fiesta ST Trophy. George, the championship fight may not have come down exactly as you would have wished, but you knew this was a learning year. You're on top today. You won the event. How does that feel?
It's great, to be honest, yeah. This year was obviously about improving the pace, and we have, and we've now got a win to our name, so that's been good, and throughout the day we've set some good times, so that's positive. Obviously well done to Cameron, he got to the finish, and we've had some bad luck this year which hasn't helped our championship fight, but that wasn't the plan. But you know, we've got through the end, and we'll see what we can do on the track rod.
You were also putting in some hours elsewhere on some very good exam results, which we've all heard about, so well done for that. Oh well, good day sat next to this man?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We had one little bit of a slide that could have been a bit nasty, but we just clipped the bumper and kept going and gone for the win.
Some of the seasoned drivers out there today hadn't experienced conditions quite like that for some time, if at all, so it's a learning day for everyone when it's quite as torrential as that. But you know what? You're on top today. Well done.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cameron Lee, I'm delighted to welcome you to the finish here at Ludlow as our Fiesta Trophy champions. You did what you needed to do today. There was a plan about that one, wasn't there?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we're glad to be here as well. So it's been a hard day, probably the hardest rally of the year. I mean, we know we just had to finish in the top 6, but it took a methodical drive just to, you know, not chase George and just get to the end and worry what we had to do. So, but no, I mean, Lee's done a fantastic job as well to get me here all year. First time in the Forest, so it's just been a roller coaster of the year, and you know, love to get back into rallying as well after taking a year off for circuit racing.
No, great performance, and I'll tell you what, if you were chasing George, you would have taken some chasing today. He was on a charge. Lee, what a year.
Yeah, it's been cracking fault this year really. We had a push on him this morning and it was a battle. We had a bit of a spin then and we thought, we'll just cruise it back now. Let's bring the championship back, and yeah, can't fault it. Really good driving all day, all year really. Can't fault it.
In conditions like that today, you know, it's a learning curve for anybody. We were saying to George, although he's new to this, there are a lot of people out there with a lot of experience who haven't seen rain on the stages quite like that.
Yeah, we were just discussing actually today, saying even I've got lack of experience on the sort of wet, gravel stages. So it took some doing for me. I sort of switched off as well during stage 4. Just took it too easy, ended up having a half spin. So we lost a bit of time, and I thought that was my wake-up call. Then calm it down, get yourself to the finish, and we are here. So.
You did just that. We'll look forward to seeing what's next for you guys. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, cheers guys.
With one round to go, we have our champion in the Fiesta ST Trophy, Cameron Davies, Lee Taylor taking the championship with what you have to say was a champion's drive. Cameron worked out what he needed to do. He did it today. These are your champions. Thank you for watching Special Stage. I'm going to try my best not to get wet now.
The next stop for the crews in the Mintex British Historic Rally Championship would be the Isle of Man, the longest and one of the most demanding events in the calendar. And with the event being split into 2 parts, it means double chance of adding to the championship points total if things go to plan. Jason Pritchard clinched the title on the event last year after a close battle all season with Richard Hill. This year he goes into the Isle of Man on the back foot in the championship, but the experience certainly stacks in his favour on the event, having won the Isle of Man a number of times in both the historic event and the modern national event in May. The rally takes in classic stages the length of the island, 20 stages in total over 3 days with a total of 160 competitive miles to test the crews and make them work for those results. Action kicks off on the Thursday with a shakedown stage, one of only a couple of events in the season to allow the crews a chance to check the setup of the car and themselves on a stage representative of what they can expect over the weekend. And then the rally starts properly in the evening with a head-to-head blast around the Villa Marina stage on Douglas Promenade. The time's still against the clock, but with the added pressure of your fellow competitors sat beside you as you start the stage, and hopefully behind you as you cross the line once again at the end. Once the spectators have been entertained in Douglas, it's off to the traditional Manx stages out in the lanes. A relatively short 16 miles in the dark on day 1, but that doesn't mean it'll be easy. Day 2 is the longest day, with the midpoint marking the end of the first point scoring round, with just over 50 miles for the crews over 6 stages, at which point, if it's all gone to plan, will mean they can relax a little, knowing that they have some good points going to the second leg of the event. After a short break, the crews head back out for a blast around Castletown, another favourite with the fans, and with the night drawing in again, it's another 30 miles of dark, challenging stages for the crews before a well-deserved rest ahead of the final day's action. And the final day doesn't mean the crews can wind down yet. 60 miles still lie ahead of the crews as they leave the grandstand on Saturday morning, including 2 13-mile stages to finish the event, with that final blast to the finish line finishing at the famous TT grandstand. So with such a long and challenging event awaiting the crews, we asked what it was that made this one of the favourites of the season.
It's so close and compact, and you get to start to know the locals. I've been there so many times now, and it's just a nice atmosphere. It's like a home from home. The roads are second to none in the world. It's brilliant, and I prefer the tarmac and can't wait.
I've only ever been there once, and when we made our own notes and we put car on its roof on the second stage. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I actually love the Isle of Man. It's a real nice week, and with the recce and the stages, yes, it's a great place. I love it.
As always, we'll be there bringing you all of the action, and you can catch updates and news on ours and the Championship's social media throughout the event.
Welcome to Special Stage and welcome to a very wet Ludlow. It's the penultimate round of the Welsh Rally Championship. Luke Francis looking set to be Welsh champion this year, but standing between him are quite a few stage miles. And as you can see, very varied weather conditions, as you'd expect from Welsh rallying. Let's get on with the action now from the Woodpecker Rally. Onto the stages then, and it will be the local crew of Sean Gardner and Ben Innes that lead the way after the morning stages. They reach service with a 2-second lead in that place. This would partly be down to the loss of Luke Francis and John Roberts from the results. They roll out of the rally on stage 2, but luckily for them, they only needed a start to claim enough points to be crowned Welsh Rally champions in their absence. It will be a good start for Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh. The pair end this loop with second place, just 2 seconds back from the leaders. They had been leading, but a few small mistakes in the Radnor stage had set them back. That means they go into the final few stages of the day chasing back the lead. And a few small problems in the morning stages would set Dylan Davies and Cleon Williams back a little, but only on the times. They were still running in third, and a clean run through the Radnor stage was a good sign going into the afternoon. Carl Simmons and Mark Glenister, meanwhile, return after some time out of the car. Fourth place for now, but admitting that Carl was still a little rusty. They were only 1 second off the pace of Davies, though, for the podium, so things were not going too badly, considering. Andy Davies and Max Freeman lead the way in the Group N class. Not sure that the pace was there, but it was surely just the conditions as they lie in 5th place overall as well. Martin and Dawn England had already been out on a non-championship event recently with similar conditions, so this weekend will be familiar. They have a good start to lie in 6th place for now. Gavin Edwards and Karen Tomlinson, meanwhile, had a good result last time out in the championship. This weekend was looking like a repeat. They lead the way in the class at this stage with 7th on our overall leaderboard. Edwards' closest rival in that class was Boyd Kershaw, with Brian Hull alongside as usual. Problems, though, getting to grips with the conditions on the stages meant that they were slipping back a little in the class from the leaders. Woog Utting and Bob Stocko would have been the only ones to stand in the way of Luke Francis and the title this weekend, but they needed a victory from the final 2 rounds to do that. Sadly, 9th place at this stage wasn't going to achieve anything like that. And rounding out the top 10 now were Andrew Jones and Keaton Williams. They have a great start to the day to lead the way in Class 5 for a 10th place overall position. Just outside the top 10, it would be the Class 3 lead for Dave and Toby Brick. A good start to the event for the local pairing, but it wouldn't change the championship results much with this result. Nev Jones and Chris Davies bring out the new car, finding things slippery like everyone else, but things were going okay. They lie 3rd in the Group N class at this stage. And Simon Rogers and Wyn Davies would also be caught out, expecting drier conditions. And rightly so, it normally is dry at the Woodpecker. Things were challenging, but they do hold on to 3rd place in Class 8 for now. On a day like today, a wrong tyre choice should be a bad thing for Ashley Davies and Sam Fordham. It didn't seem to be bothering them in the class battle for now. They lead the way in Class 7 at this stage and happier now that they had the right tyres on the car. No problems for Barry Jordan and James Grattan Smith. They reached the end of this stage with 3rd in Class 6, 16th on the overall leaderboard. For Colin and Martin Griffiths, it will be 2nd in Class 7. They were pushing hard, sometimes too hard, the car suffering a small amount of damage, but nothing that would stop them continuing to push in the final stages. And things were going well now for Matt Jackson and Claire Williams. 2nd place in Class 3 now, some way behind the leaders, but that wasn't important. For Howell Davies and Richard Crozier, it will be 2nd in Class 5 at this stage. Things were going well, just one big moment in Radnor to get the heart pace going, but apart from that, they were enjoying the stages. For Bob Vardy and Simon Rogers, it will be a good run to take the lead in Class 4. This will be a good weekend for some points and help them extend the Class Championship lead. A puncture for Jordan and Paul Hone would drop them down to 3rd place in Class 3 this morning. It wasn't where they wanted to be, of course, but they would take any points that they could salvage at this stage in the championship. And Tony Carinanti and Chris Williams were another pair happy to salvage anything they could from the weekend, bringing out this new car. Temporary replacement for the Subaru, apparently, but they were not enjoying it. They do, however, lie in 2nd place in Class 4. And rounding out the results were Jake McKenna and Cal McElhenney, the only ones in Class 2, so they would have the lead there. Sadly, it wouldn't last. As we know, in these conditions, things are tough. It takes a lot just to get to the finish. The pair go OTL by the end of the rally. So just over halfway through, and the results at the top of the Welsh Championship here at the Woodpecker Rally look like this. Onto the afternoon stages then, and there will be no change for Tony Carinanti and Chris Williams. They take 2nd place in Class 4 by the finish. Ahead of them in the class were Bob Vardy and Simon Rogers. They do enough to extend the lead in the class so far this season with that result. There will be no comeback from the puncture though for Jordan and Paul Hone. They end the rally with 3rd in Class 3 at the end of the event, missing out on 2nd by only 6 seconds. But that position would go to Matt Jackson and Claire Williams. Rightly delighted. It was a great result for the pair and one that puts them in the lead of the class overall this season, despite the problems with reliability so far. No change in Class 5. Howell Davies and Richard Crozier end the event with 2nd in the class, making it through the event without any more big moments. No change for Barry Jordan and James Gratton-Smith though. They take 3rd place in Class 6 at the end of the rally after a clean and enjoyable run on the stages despite being underpowered in that 1.6 litre Avenger. After a big push, Colin and Martin Griffiths keep things on track to reach the end of the event and take 2nd in Class 7. They also take 15th overall for their efforts. And for Ashley Davies and Sam Fordham, it will be the victory in that class. A good result for them, the pace increasing into the afternoon stages after those correct tyres were fitted on the car. It was a good outing for Nev Jones and Chris Davies in their new Subaru. They take 3rd in the Group N class this weekend with 12th place overall. And Simon Rogers and Wyn Davies finished just outside the top 10 with 11th overall, a result which would get them 3rd in Class 8. It was a problem-free run for Dave and Toby Brick in their back garden as they reached the end of the event with the Class 3 victory. They also round out the top 10. Impressive in that Nova. For Woog Utting and Bob Stocko, it would have to be 2nd in the Group N class this weekend. A steady run, but not the result they could have had on a better weekend. Andrew Jones and Keaton Williams have a good end to the event with 8th place overall, a result that puts them 2nd in the championship and also puts them in the leading position for the Ravenel Challenge, which of course carries a £3,000 prize fund to be decided on the final round of the series. For flying Kiwi Boyd Kershaw, Brian Hull alongside, it will be 2nd in Class 6 this weekend. Not the victory that they'd been looking for, but that result does mean they take the class win in the championship overall this season. That, of course, meant the victory this weekend for Gavin Edwards and Karen Tomlinson. They take the Class 6 win and finish the event with 6th place overall. Martin and Dawn England reached the end of the rally without any major drama. They take 5th place overall, 2nd in the class at the finish. For Andy Davies and Max Freeman, it will be the Group N win. They also take 4th place overall away with them for the Woodpecker, putting them 2nd in the Group N Championship. There's frustration as we lose Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh. They break the suspension on the car after going wide on stage 5. But that does mean for Carl Simmons and Mark Glenister, the long break didn't seem to have slowed them down too much results-wise. Third place for the pair, taking the win in the WRC 1 class this weekend. Dylan Davies and Cleon Williams have a good run in the afternoon stages to take second. That result putting them second in the Class 8 Championship and only 1 point off the podium overall going into the final round of the series. But this weekend, it would be victory for Sean Gardner and Ben Innes. It was a popular one as well. It did nothing for their limited championship campaign, but it did show that they were serious contenders for the championship on a full-time return, which of course we all hope is a distinct possibility. So at the end of the rally, here's a reminder of the final overall results in the Welsh Rally Championship. Sean, Ben, what a result for the Welsh Championship for you today.
Yeah, chuffed a bit. Well, I'm a bit speechless, but fair credit to all the guys behind me and Ben, and you know, just the conditions today suited us a bit, as daft as it seems, even with the niggly problems that we've had with the diff and a few issues getting back into rallying, because I just got no mileage, no tests, you know, nothing. Well, I did a bit of test, as I say, on the Red Dragon, but went off there very, very silly. But to bounce back and get first Welsh today is, yeah, I'm chuffed a bit, to say the least.
Ben, I've said it before today, but you know, to have a world ex-champion here to have as a benchmark for everyone is a good exercise, but sadly for them that was too true.
Well, yeah, it's been a tricky day for everybody, I think, today. The conditions were absolutely atrocious this morning, so it's been a good test for everybody, and for us to come through and finish where we have today, yeah, I think we should be pleased with ourselves, but there's more to come, definitely.
That sounds good. We like the sound of that. Well done, guys. That is well deserved.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Well, frustratingly, it's an absent Luke Francis who takes the championship, the Welsh Rally Championship. Frustrating because it would have been nice to have him here to talk about the fight that he's had this season to take that title. Sadly, though, the car goes home in a bit of a sorry state after that incident on stage 2. But there's nothing sad about the podium that we've got behind us, because it looks like we've got a renewed charge from the man in the middle. It would be great to see Sean Gardner back out fighting in this championship, wouldn't it? And the guys either side as well, renewed confidence and inspiration for those going into the final round of the championship. The gloves are off for that fight, and then it's all eyes on next season. Thanks for joining us once again here at the Welsh Rally Championship. Thank you for watching Special Stage.
Two left push on the bump, 80.